Hello, welcome to our Skills for Success Job Readiness course. I am so glad you could make it. Thanks for being here and joining in. We're going to have a good time today, and we're going to talk about some of the readiness things we need just to kind of start the job process. This will not be the only session we have about job skills. We'll also be doing some resume work and some interview skills. But today, we're going to start with talking about why work matters in the first place. So when we think about work, we typically focus on the paycheck. But the truth is, having a job impacts so much more than just our wallets. Work can give us stability, confidence, purpose, even better health. It can connect us with people, open doors we didn't expect. So there is value in worth beyond just the financial. So when we think about work, the first thing that does come to mind is money. And so this is the most obvious benefit. And so financial stability or financial independence would be one of the benefits of having a steady paycheck. This helps us cover the needs this is why we work, to cover things like food and housing, bills. Um, Maybe if you're younger, you still have the support of family and you're paying for other things like maybe some uh, things like clothes, sneakers for sports, or whatever it is. Having that financial income allows us to plan for things. It allows us to save up for big expenditures like maybe a new phone or even something as big as a car or education. Having finances, a paycheck, gives us independence. We have less of, we're less dependable on others or assistance programs, which are not always dependable. Even entry-level jobs can help create a stepping stone to better opportunities. Over time, consistent work builds a record of reliability that makes it easier to qualify for promotions and for chances of advancement. But there are other benefits. Your mental health and self-worth benefit from job. It work affects how we see ourselves. Having a job often brings a sense of purpose. We know our time is being used in meaningful ways. Okay, let's say that you don't consider your job super meaningful. It's a starter job. The fact that you are there and contributing to something also will help your mental health, that you have a purpose and you're valuable to that business, because if you weren't valuable, they wouldn't need to pay you as a worker. This can improve your self-confidence. It can reduce your feelings of stress or depression if you experience that. Completing tasks and being productive helps us feel capable and proud. There's a sense of accomplishment. And having a routine and a structure provides stability, especially when life can feel overwhelming. So, work can help shift our focus away from worries or stresses and give us an outlet that is healthy for our energy. When people are unemployed for long periods of time, it's easy to feel discouraged or isolated. And returning to work can help renew hope and motivation. There are also emotional benefits and social connection. Those two are just intertwined. Humans are social beings, and work provides us an opportunity to connect, meeting new coworkers, forming new friendships, learning how to manage teamwork and problem solve, having a support system outside of your home and family life. Feeling a part of a team reduces loneliness. It helps us feel like we belong somewhere. And for many people, the workplace becomes a community where you can share challenges and celebrate achievements. Now, there's also a lot of skill development and personal growth that happens on every job, no matter how small. Jobs teach us things that are valuable. Some of these things are practical skills like operating tools, handling money, using technology. Some of them are soft skills like we're going to talk about in just a few minutes: communication, conflict resolution, time management. And you can also learn career skills like building a resume or learning workplace culture, learning workplace politics, how to be professional. Over time, these skills can lead to better jobs, more responsibility, higher pay. Um, Work is one of the best ways to continue learning and growing as a person. So, work is more than just about the money. It builds self-worth. It connects us to other people. It teaches us valuable skills. Maybe you're not starting with your dream job, but that job can open doors to new opportunities and greater confidence. Every shift you work, every task you complete, and every paycheck you earn is an investment in your future. So let's talk about job readiness. What does that mean to be job ready? It's an important question. A lot of people are unsure. There's a lot of different components. So we're going to talk about these, and we're going to start with work habits. Employers often say they can teach someone how to do the job, but what they can't teach is attitude. They're looking for people who will show up, try their best, and be respectful. So showing up, being on time is huge. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Life happens, uh, things happen, but being job ready means you know how to plan your time, that you know that you need to leave early because of delays at certain times. Maybe there's some weather, or maybe you know the traffic is going to be heavy. There are certain times of day the traffic is heavy. It's heavy. It's easy to know that. Um, it also may be just communicating when you're going to be late. That's part of other things like communication or being respectful. But showing up on time is important. If you've ever gotten kids to school, if you've ever gotten yourself to school on time, made a doctor's appointment, caught a bus, you do know how to plan. We do plan for the things that are important to us. If I'm meeting up with friends, I try not to be late for that because it's fun. But work is important. It's important to be dependable and show up on time. So let's talk a little bit more about being dependable. Okay, it's one thing to show up on time, but the other thing is to show up when you're scheduled, not to miss. Um, Job ready people show up when they're scheduled to show up. And if they can't make it for whatever reason, they call and they explain. Your reliability is important to your success. If you're not reliable, it's hard for you to advance. It's hard for your boss to um, give you a raise. It's hard for your boss to keep you if you don't show up because everybody is planning around a schedule. Knowing how to follow instructions or to focus. Being able to listen carefully and carry out directions the way they're given is a basic workplace expectation. Um, Employers want to know that you can do a task safely and correctly. So listening to instructions, maybe practicing when you're not at work, uh, asking questions if you don't understand the instructions, that shows respect. It shows respect for the job, for your supervisor, and it shows respect for the team that you're on. And part of following instructions is staying focused, especially if you're not being supervised. So staying on task, even when you're not being watched, is part of following instructions and being focused. What about your appearance? Um, the way you dress, the way you show up sends a message. I'm not talking about that you're wearing expensive clothes or fancy clothes or the latest fashion. I'm talking about being clean and neat, wearing job appropriate clothes. Some jobs require that you can't, they require that you wear a closed-toed shoe, meaning you can't wear a sandal. As practicing good hygiene, you want to show that you take the job seriously. And you don't need expensive clothes. You just need neat, clean, and job appropriate clothing. And you need to be clean yourself, clean hair, combed hair. You know, it doesn't mean you need to wash your hair every day. It does mean you need to comb your hair and be showered so that you don't smell. You know, you want to have good hygiene. Employers notice the effort, customers notice the effort, and maybe they notice more if you don't do it And so you want to be consistent in doing it. Respect for the rules. Every workplace has rules about attendance, about cell phone use, about safety procedures. There are always rules. Sometimes they call them guidelines, but they're rules. Respecting the rules shows a maturity and responsibility. Acting like the rules don't apply to you because you're special is an immature response. So following safety guidelines is really crucial. Protecting yourself and your coworkers from harm is an important part of being a part of a team. Employers want to know that you can be trusted to follow the policies consistently. And basic organization, being organized, maybe keeping track of your tasks at work. It may be keeping up with your work schedule. Uh, any important information that you're keeping track of it. That's part of being organized. Maybe it is your space that you're in, that you keep your desk neat, or maybe you're working at a counter and that is neat and easy to use. Employers notice when you are reliable in these things and that you're dependable and you don't let things fall through the cracks. If your desk is so messy you can't find anything, that means you're not going to be very dependable. And a willingness to work. This is maybe one of the most important things, that you're willing to work, that you genuinely want to work. All of us can say that, yes, we don't want to go to work, we'd rather stay home. But work is so good for us. Create a mindset that gives work a positive view in your mind, that you genuinely want to be there, that you're ready to put in effort. Uh, Showing up with energy, volunteering to do things to help on things that maybe aren't your specific job. Uh, if you show initiative, you don't have to be waiting to be told every single step. Look for ways you can be helpful. Look for ways you can be flexible. Maybe something is asked of you that is not typically your job. It's a task that is outside of your comfort zone. Go into it with a positive attitude, a willingness to learn, a willingness to work. Showing you want to work builds trust with your supervisor. It also builds trust with your coworkers. And if you have repeat customers, it will build trust with your customers as well. So these skills may seem small, but they make up a huge portion of job readiness, showing that you're dependable, respectful, and prepared, not just for one job, but for long-term success in the workplace. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about soft skills, but I want to talk a little bit about the difference between work habits and soft skills. We'll repeat this again in a minute. Work habits are behaviors and routines that show a person on the job has reliability and performance. They are about how you approach work on a daily basis. Soft skills are the interpersonal and personal qualities that affect how you interact with others and handle situations. They're less about routine and more about people skills and personality traits. So some examples would be communication. Communication skills means more than just talking. Communication can be listening, that you are a careful listener. Uh, you speak clearly. It can be speaking, that you speak clearly and audibly, meaning you're able to be heard and you enunciate well enough to be understood. I have a couple of friends that mumble and it's hard to understand what they say. I have to ask them to repeat things. My dad is hard of hearing. And when he goes places, he is sure to tell the clerk or the agent, hey, I don't hear very well. So if you don't mind speaking up and speaking slowly, that is helpful. But it's good for you to remember that, especially as you encounter people that you can identify, hey, this person has gray hair, maybe they're not able to hear as well. I need to slow down and speak up. What about teamwork? Most jobs require working with other people. There are very few jobs where you work completely alone. A lot of times you have, of course, a supervisor, a team member, a coworker, clients or customers, people you have to deal with, maybe a third party, a vendor that you're trying to get either information from, pricing, or materials. Teamwork means cooperating, sharing tasks, supporting people instead of competing with them. Sometimes it means stepping up to help people, or other times it may be letting someone else take the lead. That may be part of your team building. Employers value people who can get along and contribute to a group effort. If you can work well with a team, you can advance. And problem solving. Problem solving happens every day, every job, every life. As supplies run out, people get upset, machines break. These things happen in our home life too. Being a problem solver means staying calm, thinking through situations. Uh, it may be asking for help. If a customer is upset, instead of getting defensive, you might find a way to listen and try to help understand what their problem is and can you help them get out of it. This requires you to think on your feet and to really exercise some patience and calmness. Another soft skill is willingness to learn, willingness to change. Nobody expects you to know everything on day one, but employers want to see is an open mind and a readiness to learn. This can mean learning how to use a new tool, try a new task. It may be learning to take feedback in a way that is positive and that you're seriously taking it in, that it's beneficial to you. A willingness to learn will show growth. Uh, the employer is more willing to invest in you if you show a willingness to learn. And a willingness to change is also important. Change how you think about something, how it could be done a different way. There's a lot of change in the workplace these days. And so learning about that and being willing to change and hear and listen and grow is an important part of your soft skills. But having a positive attitude may be one of the most important because a positive attitude will help you in all of the others. Uh, this makes all the difference in how you view work, how you're seen at work. It can include being respectful and polite, but having a positive attitude about things in your workday uh, affects how you feel mentally and emotionally about your work. It can change your attitude to be willing to learn and change. It can give you a problem solving skill set. Think through your day when you start to have negative attitudes, negative thoughts, or complaining. Think of ways that you could show gratitude or things that you're thankful for in your work and see if you can shift your attitude to be something positive and make the whole workplace better. Okay, so what about soft skills versus work habits? So we talked about work habits at the beginning, and then we just now talked about uh, soft skills. Work habits show employers that you are dependable and consistent. Soft skills show employers that you can get along with others and contribute to a positive workplace. A good work habit is being on time every day. A good soft skill is communicating politely if you're running late or you need help. Both are needed for job readiness. Okay, we're going to talk now about hard skills. Of course, now we've got all these terms. Hard skills are specific, teachable abilities. They're technical knowledge that you learn through training, education, or hands-on practice. They are usually easy to measure, easy to test. You can prove them with a certificate, a degree, or a demonstration. A hard skill is what you know how to do. A soft skill is how you work with people and handle situations. So some hard skills would be driving a forklift, using a computer or a cash register. Maybe you know how to wash dishes. That requires a hard skill. There are certain things you want to do when you wash a dish. It may be cooking. It could be changing oil in a car. or maybe you know how to do hair or nails. Those are hard skills. Some of you may have hard skills from past jobs, maybe training programs, but you could also have hard skills from just helping people out at home or your neighbors or in your community. It helps to understand this because sometimes when people don't think they have any job skills, it may be just because you haven't thought through what your skills are. Your work habits and soft skills are valuable tools in your search for work. So many people already have soft skills, they just don't realize it. A good rule of thumb is hard skills typically can get you hired, even though some of hard skills are trained on the job, but soft skills will help you keep that job. For instance, let's say a company teaches you how to stock shelves. That is a hard skill. But if you don't show up on time, or if you talk back to your supervisor, they might let you go, even if you're really good at stocking shelves. So that is why your soft skills and work habits matter. So you may not know it, but you likely already have job readiness skills. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the most important things to know is you need to be willing to learn. Increasing your willingness to learn might be an important skill that you're going to work on right now. And some of that may be just changing your attitude and reminding yourself, yes, I am willing to learn. And you don't have to know it all. No one knows everything. Being open to learning, asking questions, taking notes, watching how other people do things is a huge advantage to you. Uh, if you're too proud to learn things, talk to somebody about that. Talk with a friend. If you go into a workplace and it's a skill set that you don't already know and you act like you know it, your odds of learning that go way down. Also, your odds of keeping that job also go way down. Um, so what happens if you don't feel ready? You may be thinking right now, well, that all sounds good, but I don't feel ready. That's okay. What we want to do is encourage you to identify what you bring to the table. I'm going to talk about that right now. We want you to build on your strength. We want you to practice skills that you already have that maybe need improving, but we also want you to practice new skills. And I want you to make a plan. I want you to make a plan to overcome anything that's getting in your way. So we're going to look at your personal strengths. We're going to talk about barriers. Job readiness is a journey. You don't have to be 100% ready today or any day, really. You just want to take steps forward each and every day or each and every week. Okay, so let's talk first about personal strengths and past experience. So we're going to start with personal strengths. Too often people say, I've never had a real job, or I don't have any experience. But let's change how we think about that. You may not have had a paid job, or maybe you haven't had a paid job in a while. Maybe you haven't had a fancy title or a lot of work experience, but you've done work. You've used your time, energy, and skills to help other people, maybe to run a household, to solve problems, to survive hard situations. That's experience. That is strength. And those things matter. Every person has something valuable to offer. So, what are some of your personal strengths? Okay, let's think about this. I am good at what? Uh, are you good at being calm in stressful situations? Are you good at looking at the positive as opposed to the negative of a situation? People often ask me to help with what? These are good questions to ask yourself. If you want to take a screenshot of this, um, people often ask me to help with organizing their kitchen or picking out fashionable clothes for them. You know, that's a skill set to be able to pick out appropriate clothes or clothes that look good on someone. I feel proud when what? I'm helpful. I feel proud when have done what I'm supposed to, if I've accomplished a task and done it well, that I know I've done well, I enjoy, what do you enjoy? One thing I enjoy doing is what? I enjoy doing working puzzles. That helps with your job skills. I enjoy communicating information. I enjoy learning information. Those things translate. And think about this. Think about a job you think you'd be good at. Okay, maybe that job is well above where you are right now, meaning you don't have the qualifications to get there. But it's important to think, okay, I think I'd be good at this. What's the path I might need to take with other jobs to get there? If I think I might want to work in a bank one day, maybe I start as a cash register clerk and I work up from there. Doing your personal strengths are part of who you are. They are sometimes things you're born with. Some people are born with more patience. Some people are born with more passion and energy. But some things you learn as you grow up. Maybe your family home was more chaotic and you learned to be calm in the midst of chaos. Maybe your family home was quiet and maybe both your parents worked and you were left on your own and you were able to get things done. Maybe you cooked your own dinner. That's really responsible. How we grew up can contribute to our personal strength. So can our other experiences as adults, even if we weren't working. Uh, Being in a relationship teaches us relationship skills. It just is. We learn compromise, we learn communication, we learn temperaments and how things work. So all of us have personal strengths, every single one. We just want you to think about what they might be and how they might apply as you look for work. And what about experience? Think about your life. What types of work have you done? Paid or unpaid? A lot of times, if you're older, you probably had both, paid and unpaid. If you're younger, you may have only had unpaid jobs. Have you ever volunteered? Okay, maybe this doesn't, it's a form of volunteering, like maybe helping at your church or a community center or a food bank. Maybe it is you've helped a neighbor do anything, watch their kids, mow their lawn. Uh, if you've ever cleaned up after an event or organized a meal for someone else, any type of volunteering uh, that's a form of experience. Related to that is helping others down below. And so uh, helping others would be uh, kind of what I've talked about. Maybe you have helped your teacher do something. You've helped after school. Maybe you have helped a friend with their homework. Or maybe you have helped a parent in their life somehow, either to get things done around the house or help them set up a computer. Those are experiences that may or may not have been paid. Also, household management. You don't have to be uh, the only adult in the household to be the household management help. A lot of times, the adults in the home or adults are doing a lot of the management, but so are some of the younger people. And then maybe you're older in the home. Maybe you are living with your grandkids or your children. Anytime you've helped in the house, you've watched children, you've helped cook, you've done laundry, you've grocery shopped, maybe you've helped budget or pay bills, uh, you've helped people get to where they need to go. Maybe you have reminded people where they need to be, or maybe you've been an encouragement. These are skills of experience. And it's hard sometimes to think of things. But when you think of helping others, when you think of, well, I helped them paint that room or help them move that furniture, those are work experiences that you did not get paid for. Or maybe you're a student. Students have a lot. Well, we know everybody's been a student, so we know that everybody has some experience in this area. You learn skills like leadership. Maybe you were asked to head something up. And maybe it was a struggle but you did it and you learned. You learned to be dependable because you had to go to school, you had to be there, and you had to attend. Um, this demonstrates reliability. Organizational skills for a student is managing classwork, managing project deadlines, getting your homework done, coordinating, communication and coordinating with other students. If you have a work group together, if you need to coordinate on a project, it could even mean public speaking. Did you have to give a presentation? School covers a lot of experience that can convert to lots of different work experiences. So don't leave that off of your thinking about feeling that you're not quite ready. You're more ready than you think you are. So you already have valuable experience. Take the list, think about that. Think about what has been helpful, informed you, and molded you, and what skills do you already have? You already have everyday skills that matter. They matter for your personal life and they will matter in your work life. Maybe you currently have a job, but you want a better job. Well, be thinking about these skills that you already have and how they might translate. You don't need a long resume. You just need to learn to talk about what you've done. And we're going to have other sessions besides this one that talk about resume building, but also job interview skills, talking about what you've done. Okay, so there are barriers to work. Shocking. Um, so let's talk a little bit about some of the barriers you'll face. These could include things like transportation or maybe your health. Let's walk through a few because there's nothing that doesn't have a barrier. And maybe it's a little tiny barrier and maybe it's a bigger barrier, but we all have a struggle um, when it comes to work. Uh, some seasons more than others. So we want to talk about barriers and we want to talk about how to overcome them. Okay, our first barrier is a lack of a diploma or a GED. So many employers list a high school diploma or a GED as a minimum requirement for employment. This can feel discouraging for you if you don't have a diploma, you don't have a GED. However, a diploma is often more of a signal of reliability than measure of job ability. They're really just looking to see were you persistent enough to get through this. Many people without diplomas still are very successful in the workplace. One of the ways they do this is by highlighting their own strengths. You can still get hired for many entry-level jobs without a diploma. Fast food places, cleaning services, delivery service, sometimes in a warehouse work situation. A lot of these jobs you don't need a diploma. Some employers will hire you while you're working on either your diploma or your GED, especially if you show up and you have a good attitude, if you use your soft skills and your work habits in your favor. And then we're going to talk a little bit at the end about uh, places you can get GED. But let's talk about a little bit more about finding a job that may not require a diploma right now. Uh, Hospitality, meaning work in hotels, restaurants, and housekeeping. Uh, those people lean more towards hiring on skills, attitude, and a willingness to work. Some of the construction jobs or skilled trades, some of those may be that maybe you could get an on-the-job apprenticeship, meaning they will teach you about the job, but you don't need a degree. Sometimes warehouse and logistics, either in packing, shipping, or inventory, you can get by without a diploma or a GED. Cleaning and maintenance services. Uh, a lot of these roles, a reliability and an eagerness to learn can outweigh the lack of education. But let's talk about how to talk about it. When you're asked about education, which is something that you might be asked about, be honest, but focus on what you are doing right now. You might say, I haven't completed my diploma yet, but I'm currently working on my GED and committed to finishing it. Don't say this if you're not working on your GED. You want to be honest. But you may also say, I've struggled. I struggled with school. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go back and finish. But I'm considering that and looking at my options, but want to be working while I make that decision. Um, Highlighting your experience and skills that prove that you have succeeded on any job or that you can succeed on this job. Emphasizing, I will show up on time. I'm a quick learner. I'm not a quick book learner. I don't know that you want to say something negative, but you do want to convey you're a quick learner, even though you haven't completed what somebody might consider a learning process. I'm a good team worker. I'm a positive worker. I'm looking for opportunity. Employers often value effort and honesty more than a perfect record. So, how would you build your image without your diploma? Okay, we've already talked about some of these, but soft skill building is important. Communication, teamwork, problem solving, dependability. Those are image building things in talking about your soft skill set, meaning I have this to offer and being very positive about yourself. Getting a short term certificate, maybe a food handler permit or a forklift certification. Even your CPR or first aid certification could really be helpful. Another way to build your image is volunteer. Do some community work. And maybe you're thinking, well, I need a paying job. Well, sometimes you can do this on the side while you have a paying job. It builds your resume. It demonstrates responsibility and it helps people to see that you are a hard worker and they do want to hire you. And we want you to keep on learning. There are free classes, library resources, and workshops that can help fill the gap. And then you can talk about these when you apply for jobs. One of the ways that you can have a pathway to a GED is to inquire. You want to inquire with your local library, your local high school, maybe your local junior college or community college. Look, you can look online, free ways to get my GED, and look at the different opportunities you have if you want to work on that. Um, you can do both. You can work a job and study. It is possible. It may be really difficult, but that could be very beneficial. But why would you want a GED if you don't have your diploma? It does open more job opportunities. It gives you more selection. It makes you eligible for other training programs or apprenticeships. Uh, it's required for some trade programs and for many college programs. And so that GED might be an entrance into maybe you're getting your associate's degree or another type of degree. It builds personal pride and confidence. I have a friend that didn't complete her education and she's done really well, but she regrets not having it. And she's embarrassed by this, which it doesn't bother her friends, but she wishes she had done it when she was young. Uh, and she would have a lot of pride and confidence because of that. Even if it feels far away, take some small steps towards a GED. This creates momentum and opportunities for you. It doesn't have to be the big barrier that you might think it is. Okay, so what if you have gaps in your employment history? Maybe you don't have any employment history. Um, Maybe if you've been out of work for a while and you're going to wonder how to explain that on a resume or in an interview. Um, Here's the truth. Life happens. Employers also understand that people take off time for different reasons. And so what matters more than the gap is what you've done in that time. So did you volunteer? Did you care for children or maybe an elderly family member? Did you care for yourself? Did you need to take time off to care for yourself for illness or disability, to deal with personal issues? Maybe you have gaps because you went to class, you took online courses, or you did things to improve yourself. Why are the gaps there? You want an employer to see a reason to a big gap in formal work service. So they're wondering, uh, is this person unreliable or unable to keep a job? Therefore, there's nothing on this resume. Did something negative happen? You don't have to reveal all the things. You don't have to say you took time out to raise kids. You may want to supply an answer, but you need to know that some of these things, an answer is not required. Uh, so they're perfectly allowed to ask, hey, I see there's a gap here. Is there a reason you took so much time off of work? But you're not required to say anything that you don't want to. It might help for you to say, yeah, I wanted to raise my kids. I was able to stay at home and do X. Or, my parents needed help. And so I took a year off to go help them. And they helped support me during that time. I lived with them. They paid for my food. So it was help. They needed health care. And I was able and willing to do it. Or, hey, I took some classes during that time. I haven't finished. And so I don't have my degree, but I've been working on my school. Those are really common reasons that you have a gap. Uh, Health and recovery, you've gone back to school, you've moved and things have changed. Uh, Maybe the job market's been hard. Whatever it is, most employers understand that life happens. What matters is how you explain it and what you've done during your gap, knowing that you may have reasons that you don't want to share. And so work on your phrasing so that you have uh, a reasoning, or you might have an answer that doesn't that still sits well with you personally. And a lot of times you can turn your gaps into strengths. uh, Hey, I was helping manage and care for my parents. That shows organization, patience, and reliability. Well, I was taking classes. Well, it does, that shows a commitment to learning. Well, I was volunteering during that time because I was able to do that. That shows initiative and responsibility, meaning you may not have been formally working, but you were working even though you weren't paid. Those barriers can turn into strengths easily. So, how do you address this on a resume or in an interview? Let's talk about resume first. Uh, you can use a skill-based resume, which highlights your abilities instead of just dates. You can list things under independent work or community service. Uh, Only include your years of service instead of months, meaning maybe you're going to leave off the month and just put the years you did things. Focus on what you did do, not what you didn't do. And if you're in an interview, you want to keep it short and you want to keep it positive. Um, hey, I was focused on my health for a period, but now I'm fully ready and able to work. I took the time off to take some classes and improve my skills, and I'm eager to apply them now. Avoid oversharing. Sometimes you don't want to share it all, which is that's fine, but you don't want to overshare either. If you're able to come up with just some really good, uh, brief and positive ways to state your gaps, that will help you. So, what about overcoming this barrier? Well, if you're in a gap now, uh, even volunteering for a few hours a week is helpful. Collect references from people you've been around, maybe a neighbor or a volunteer coordinator or a pastor. Be confident. Employers notice attitude. So be positive and be confident. And highlight growth. State what you've learned, state how you've been active, state how you've improved yourself. Gaps don't need to block your job search. These are things that you can include when you talk about your experience. So as we go on with our sessions, we'll be talking about resume building and interview skills. And so we'll talk a little bit more about this. Okay, childcare, of course, is another huge barrier. If you are a parent or a caregiver, you already know it can be so hard to work if your childcare falls through. And childcare is expensive. It's a major barrier for many people, um, but there are ways to make it work. You can look for subsidized care. Obviously, the first question here is, why is childcare a barrier? Well, if you have children, you know the answer to this. It's hard to find good childcare and it's expensive. So look for subsidized programs in your area. This you might look for this through the workforce offices, meaning workforce solutions in your county or group of counties. Some of the workforce solutions agencies are multiple counties. What about even asking some of the state programs that are for food assistance? Well, a lot of times they will know about child care programs as well. There are employers that have on-site childcare or allow flexible hours so that you can work around schedules. Well, hey, if your child is already in school, maybe elementary school, you could maybe just try to work during the school day, or maybe you could get a job at the school. It is helpful to know what's available, meaning this barrier, childcare, is so overwhelming. Look for some other things. Look for somebody that might have childcare. Ask around, ask other people who have children what they're doing. Uh, Create a backup plan. Do you have someone who can help you? Right now, my niece is working and she has some childcare that she uses, but she also has a, a grandparent that comes and helps. And so that helps her gap and helps her save some money on the childcare. Look and see who around you might be able to help you. Sometimes the programs and centers may have a waiting list or limited hours. So if you find a program, go ahead and get on a waiting list uh, while you consider your options. Uh, Looking for jobs that only provide childcare, that is an option. Or maybe you could try working, could you work on weekends or could you work in evenings opposite maybe a partner's schedule or opposite a parent's schedule that could help you with childcare and not depending on just those daycare hours. You need providers that you can trust with your children's safety and well-being. And so that is a consideration. Uh, if childcare is unreliable, it causes you to miss shifts and turn down opportunities. So this is not something, this is something you could share with a potential employer, but it's not something they should ask about. It's against the law to ask about if you have children and how you're going to manage that. So you can talk about your childcare, but that is not required. But you need a plan if you need childcare and you need to be or want to be working, you need a plan to overcome the barrier. Uh, so building a long-term plan means budgeting. Maybe you set aside some income for childcare to keep it consistent. Maybe you're able to work more some weeks than other weeks so that on the weeks that maybe your children are not in school, you could afford more childcare. Uh, Exploring employer benefits. We've talked about some companies provide childcare, some companies provide discounts or flexible schedules. Looking for those. Uh, Starting now, if you're looking for work later or you're just working part-time now because of this barrier, uh, getting with some of these career assistance agencies that can help you with a plan to overcome the barrier and to find reliable, safe, and affordable childcare. It's a real barrier. It doesn't have to stop you, so don't be discouraged. It just takes more planning. But if you have children, you understand this because children take a lot of planning. Okay, what about transportation? Getting to and from work can be a huge barrier. Uh, Obviously, it's a big challenge. If you don't have a car or maybe you live in a place with limited public transportation. It's a problem. Uh, if you live in a place that has bus transportation, sometimes you can get a reduced fare bus pass for job seekers, those who don't have jobs, or for low income riders. Those that may be an option for you if you have a bus available. A lot of times in smaller communities, there's a nonprofit or churches may offer ride assistance or possibly gas cards, usually ride assistance. A lot of the rural communities may have a van that could take you places for a minimal amount, $1 or $2. Um, Now, sometimes temporary staffing agencies will actually provide transportation to and from work sites. A van may come and get you to work. That is worth exploring if you don't have a vehicle. Vehicles are just really expensive, especially these days. But could you carpool? I mean, carpooling is a really good option. Maybe you have somebody close uh, in proximity, like geographically, maybe either a family member or a friend that could you work with them and ride to work with them. Uh, that those are good ways to look for solutions. So why do we call this a barrier? Obviously, if you don't have a vehicle or uh, maybe you don't have a bus pass, uh, that's a barrier because you have to get to work on time. Uh, it's a barrier if you're working early or late shifts when a bus isn't running. It's a barrier if you're you need to get to a job site that doesn't have any transportation to it. And it's a barrier because you're combining family responsibilities with long commutes, maybe. Maybe you share a vehicle with everyone in the family. That makes it a barrier. Again, this is not something that you have to reveal to your employer, but they may ask, do you have a way to get to work reliably? And you need to be able to say yes with confidence. Um, so public transportation is the first place I would advise you to look to learn about what public transportation is available in your town or city. Uh, if there is a bus, learn the bus schedule. Learn to identify the transfer points. Learn to ride the bus. Get on the bus and ride it for a little while. Practice. I would practice routes before you get your job so that you know you can get there on time. We've talked a little bit about carpooling. Um, Carpooling is great to save gas. I love it because of the social component. I love it because it helps everybody be on time, meaning there's a peer pressure to arrive to the vehicle on time so the vehicle doesn't leave you and go to work without you. Uh, Ask your employer or potential employer, do you have a flexible schedule about options, other options during hiring? Could you work a different shift? And also check with the workforce solutions in your area. Same thing that you would with childcare. The workforce solution boards sometimes provide bus passes or help with car repairs. They may give you some, they may have some assistance programs that you're not already aware of. And the long-term solution is getting a job so that you can start saving for a vehicle, saving for a bus pass. Um, you can apply for a nonprofit car donation program. These are things that are available to you if you don't have a vehicle and you are needing to work. Uh, Talk about transportation with your friends, with other people to see what their input is, to see about what they think about your plan. Um, and then be ready to say to your potential employer, yes, I will be able to get here on time. I carpool with so and so. Or absolutely, I've already ridden the bus route and uh, I won't have a problem being here on time. Always leave earlier than necessary. Uh, Punctuality is key. So those are some of the strategies. Uh, Plan ahead. Plan ahead is key and think out of the box of what might work for your solution. Okay, this is a tough one, but it's really common. Uh, what if you have a legal or criminal history? It's one of the hardest topics. Uh, a lot of people deal with this. If you have a record, you might worry that no one will hire you. But the truth is, many employers now offer second chances. Um, there are even entire job boards for people with criminal records. Here's some tips. Look for felon friendly employers. You can find lists online or at your local workforce development office. Workforce Solutions is a huge resource for you. Um, if you have any questions, just look up Workforce Solutions and put the name of your city in there, and it will tell you which office is yours. They'll have some resources for employers that are criminal history friendly. Uh, be honest, but brief if you're asked about your record. Practice your explanation in advance. You don't want to get flustered. You want to be clear and you want to be honest. You want to be able to focus on your strengths, uh, all of these things. So, before we go on about some of the positive things or the doable things, why is legal history a barrier? Um, well, a past conviction or arrest, an ongoing legal issue, can create fear for job seekers and hesitation for employers. Employers may worry about whether you're trustworthy. Do you have a conviction of theft, um, or they might worry about safety if you have a conviction of violence. They might have a liability issue. Certain industries do have strict rules about hiring individuals with specific convictions, healthcare, childcare, banking, things that you can kind of see. Um, and then some there's some worry about court dates or parole requirements, unresolved issues that could interfere with your work attendance. And so you need to be thinking about that as you go into the interview and hiring process. So some of the challenges you're going to face are if your application asks about a conviction. You do want to be honest about this because they do have ways of checking. Many forms require a yes or no answer. Uh, you might look for a place to provide a short and positive explanation. Employers often do background checks and record checks before hiring, so they would be able to verify if you told the truth. Um, and you might be disqualified from certain roles. So be prepared for that. Uh, as an applicant, you may feel embarrassed or discouraged about explaining what's gone on in the past. That is very understandable. But you do want to know, you want to have a plan and be ready with a positive um, way to overcome the barrier. Never lie, but keep your explanation simple. Uh, be honest and be brief. So, for example, yes, I was convicted of blank and I've completed my sentence and I'm really focused on moving forward and leaving that part of my past behind. Uh, Share what you've learned, highlight your growth. I've made mistakes in the past, but since then I've completed such and such training and I've volunteered in my community and I'm really ready to contribute with a positive earning experience. Okay, gather references, people who know you, maybe a former employer, or maybe it's a mentor or somebody that you've crossed paths with that understands your work ethic. References will matter. And start with those second chance employers. That's a great place to start. Uh, some companies actively hire individual with records. Um, your Workforce Solutions will keep a list of this and show your job readiness. These skills go all the way through all of these overcoming their solution. They're overcoming challenges with these strategies. Looking professional and clean, demonstrating reliability, making a strong first impression uh, can really outweigh a past mistake. Building confidence in talking about it will help you talk about it. So you want to practice with yourself, practice with a friend, a trusted friend, Practice with someone who can help you tweak what you're saying. Maybe telling you, oh no, that's too long. You've rambled on about such and such. So you want to keep it short and you want to end positive. Yes, I do have a past conviction. That was several years ago. But it's since then, I focused on turning my life around. I've completed such and such training. I've been consistent with my responsibilities. I'm a hard worker and I'm eager to work hard for you. Things that they can rely on to give them a reason to hire you. And there's some resources. Um, Many communities have nonprofits that help convicted uh, either felons or misdemeanors or whatever it is, and help you find ways to enter into work, maybe either with a program or with an employer. Um, Depending on the case, some convictions may be able to be cleared after a period of time. If you are a minor, you might be able to have that record sealed or expunged. Skill building workshops. Some ways might be to build a specific skill maybe in an area that doesn't need you to not have a conviction. The Workforce Solutions Office will really be able to help with that. Your legal history doesn't determine your future. Employers want to see honesty, responsibility, and growth, and they want, even if you have a past, to do well going forward. And you're not alone. You have a future, and this isn't a barrier that can be overcome, because you just need some work experience to do well, to get more work experience to do well. Okay, let's cover this last one, which is more of an emotional issue, but it's real and it might cover all of these things. um, what about self-doubt or fear of rejection? uh, Looking for work can be intimidating, especially for people who've been out of the workforce or faced setbacks or feel unqualified. You may feel like you're not good enough or that no one would want to hire you, or maybe you think you don't have the right experience. Maybe you're afraid that they'll say no. These thoughts can stop someone from even applying or showing up with confidence. Over time, rejection and silence can reinforce negative beliefs. They can make the barrier even heavier. So, what do you do? Well, reframe your job search. Uh, Instead of seeing rejection as a failure, if you've been rejected or you think you might be rejected, um, it helps to reframe this. Every no you receive gets you closer to a yes. And each application is practice and progress. So go back. If you've gotten a no, ask, hey, can you give me some tips for my next job interview? Can you give me some tips for what I could do better to present myself? And take that input not as negative, but as positive input for what you can do better next time. Rejection typically is not personal. It may be about timing or fit or numbers or something on your application that you're not qualified. Reframe and know that this is not necessarily personal, that this is maybe about what's on the resume. Learn by doing. Every new interview provides you more information. It builds your skill set and it builds your confidence for the next one. The more you interview, the better you get at it. But go back in between interviews and look at your work habits, your soft skills. We'll talk more about interviewing skills in a later segment, but you want to practice in between so that it builds your confidence. But one of the ways to build that confidence is like we've already talked about. List your strengths. Write down your skill sets, your accomplishments. Uh, Write down positive feedback you receive, any kind, and read it before you go into an interview. Practice introductions. Role play about interviews and introductions with a friend. Your confidence will grow with repetition. Also, set small goals. Don't aim for the perfect job. No, nobody really gets a perfect job from the very beginning. Very, very, very few people. Aim to apply uh, for 3 or 4 jobs a week and practice one skill set each day. Set your goals of I'm going to apply for one job today. And maybe tomorrow I'm going to practice 3 skill sets. Or maybe it's just one skill set. One is enough. And celebrate every progress you make. Um, every time you complete an application, every time you attend an interview, um, anytime you practice and you do better, whether or not you receive an offer to work, celebrate the progress that you're making and replace word phrases like I'm not good enough with I'm learning and improving each time. I'm worth this effort. Repeat that. I am worth this effort. So you want to be job ready. You want to be interview ready. But job ready is really important. So your personal strengths and experiences are going to help bolster you because those doesn't they don't have to be things that came from an actual paying job. They could be other things. Um, deal with your barriers. Spend some time working out resolutions to your barriers, how to overcome the barriers, and write them out. Uh, you're not alone in facing the barriers. Every person has faced something hard. And many, we overcome barriers. That is what we need to do. That's what we have done in the past, and that's what we need to do going forward. But you are here right now. You're learning, you're taking this the next step, and that is what matters most. Um, celebrate what you're bringing to the table. Build on the strengths that you have and plan your next move. You can do this. You have already done so much and you have listened here. Don't give up. Do the next right thing, do the next best thing, and keep pressing on. I want to thank you for coming. We have enjoyed having you here. We look forward to having you in our next session, which will be in a few weeks, and we'll let you know when that is coming. So have a great day and good luck out there.